A lot's been made over the Chicago Bears acquisitions and how they're going to perform. What does it change for the Chicago Bears? One of the most important pieces on this Bears team is Caleb Williams. On today's episode, me and Bobby are going to discuss how the Bears have removed any and all excuses for Caleb Williams going into 2025. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. We got Bobby, myself, Hayes in the building today. We're going to jump right into it. Bobby, Caleb Williams, the Bears have, on paper so far, done a lot to solve the offensive line. With probably still more to come in the draft. The weapons are still deep as they have been, with probably some more to come in the draft.
For sure.
But I feel like even that we can still talk about right now, the Bears have done a good job at eliminating many of the excuses that could have been there for Caleb Williams last year, as far as the offensive line is in a much better place, both in the pass game and the running game. And so the question I want to throw to you, this one, just to start off, was like, A, what are the expectations you have for Caleb Williams? And then how do you think that what the Bears have done have really put a spotlight on Caleb to solve some of his issues? Because I haven't really talked a lot this offseason about what Caleb needs to do to develop, but he still has a lot that he needs to do.
The expectations is to take another step forward. I know it's going to be a lot of fans that, hey, we playoffs a bust. We did that last year, y'all. Let's just make sure that we progressing in the right direction. I'm with a lot of you guys. I think that you want to really hold Caleb accountable, and we already know he's going to hold himself accountable, but you want to see him continue to learn how to play the game of football from a quarterback's perspective in a good way, to where we could become really and have belief in his ability and really see it on the field, and really see some of the things that he did last year just kind of be pushed to the wayside. You know what I'm saying? Because yes, he was sacked 68 times, but there was a lot of times he was holding on to that rock too, trying to make the splash play, trying to run around too much, trying to think that he back at USC, to where you can outrun some of those those defensive linemen on the other side, because whatever, school that they're at, and there might be a talent deficiency. That ain't happening in the NFL, and I'm pretty sure he learned that. So we hoping that he can be able to clean up some of those small things, to where then we get to see those fourth quarters that Caleb was able to, go out there and put on for us. But we want to see it for the full duration of a game. Go out there and just establish yourself and have that killer mentality. I think it's in him. But you got to continue to take steps forward. So my expectation for him is just to continue to take another step forward. It doesn't have to be a 4,000-yard season. It doesn't have to be 35 touchdown season for him. But you want to see major improvements just for the smaller things for him, so we can know, like, okay, now we're starting to see a guy that's going to be around for 10, 15 years for the franchise. Because I'm tired of going through the QB carousel and revisionist history with a lot of our people that support the team, and oh my God, we selected this guy over that guy. I'm ready to lock down a guy for ourselves, to where we can be like, hey, remember back in 2026 when Caleb Williams went out and beat this team in the playoffs, this team, start establishing ourselves to where we can have some evidence, to where it's going to show that this young guy is the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, so last year laid out a blueprint, right? Like, that's the way to look at it. Now you got to start actually building out that blueprint. Like, we saw how Caleb can be successful. Yeah. Caleb had some of the best fourth quarters of that I've seen from a Bears quarterback in a minute over like the last 4 or 5 games of the season. But you need that over a full game. So Caleb showed a lot, right? Like, and I get why some people still have harsh criticisms of Caleb, because he has to be more accurate, right? I want to see him go downfield more. But then again, our route trees weren't the most creative, right? So I think on top of like solving the offensive line, bringing in Ben Johnson, Declan Doyle, heck, we got something that I think people don't realize. We have Eric Bieniemy as a running back coach. Like, just put that into perspective, right? Like, one of the people that people have talked so much about. Yeah, he a dickhead, but people talk so much about how he's creative as far as drawing up plays. you got 3 creative minds on an offense that can all draw up plays. So I think all those things are helping or going towards helping, eliminate those questions for Caleb Williams. But hey, he still has to prove it himself, right? Like great quarterbacks aren't proven on paper. And I said once, and I think it was like one of the last games of the season, like having great talent is one thing, but that's not just what makes you successful in the NFL. And last season, for a lot of ways, was a wake-up call for Caleb. I don't think Caleb's ever lost at the rate that he lost last year in his career playing football. So if he's the guy that he says he is, and the guy that we hope and we need him to be, he's going to go back to the drawing board, and he should be motivated more than anybody for what the Bears did this offseason.
I agree, bro. And that's just why it's like when you start thinking about the step forward, the organization in my mind, at least on paper right now, took a step forward, because to your point, the coaching staff, you get the hottest name on the market, and there's evidence that he was the play caller and evidence that he can scheme things open and be able to compete with not only within the division, but against others around the league. Then you go out there and you talked about Eric Bieniemy. We got Antoine Randall to go and help develop these wideouts that are going to be, having to help this quarterback be successful.
Mm-hmm.
JT Barrett, former quarterback himself. So now you surrounding this young guy with all these offensive minds, guys that are proven in the league or in their respective roles at whatever school they played at back in college or whatever. And you're giving him a solid foundation and people that he can absolutely lean on, because we've seen Shane Waldron. He'd rather laugh on the bench while we getting whooped than to actually try to figure out how can we get better. So it looks good for him, though. It does look good for him.
Yeah, let's not even talk about Shane Waldron, bro. That got to be one of the most disappointing. Like that's still like our highest viewed video on the channel, bro.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. People were that excited about. Well, we did have the first video out on Shane Waldron hiring too, which is crazy. So Caleb has a lot that he has to prove, and like you said, I'm not putting the expectations of playoffs or anything like that's a team expectation. I know wins, losses are looked at as a QB record, but you got to have a team that's solid from top to bottom to get that done. But I do think the Bears, they're in a proper position to evaluate Caleb Williams this year. It just comes down to what Caleb needs to do. They have the right people, the right coaching staff to evaluate him. They got the right talent around, and you still got more to come, because I tell you what, they're getting a running back in this draft. I think that's we all can, regardless of where you think the Bears should draft him, the Bears are drafting a running back in this draft. Sure. And so as you continue to fill out that room as well, and if you get a wide receiver, if you get a tight end, whatever that is, like Caleb is going to have a solid team from top to bottom. You got a creative play caller. Now you just got to put it on wax, bro. To quote you, put it on wax.
Hey, appreciate that. But yeah, bro, it's just that. Like you gotta because the Bears could have really just, like I said yesterday on the live, they could have just took that time with free agency.
Yeah.
They just sat on their laurels, wait to see if somebody fall in their hands. No, they let it be known early that we going after this guy. And then they went and said, we ain't waiting until free agency open up. So you want some draft capital? Here go. Give me proven offensive linemen. Yeah, there might be some concerns with a guy like Jonah Jackson. But when he's healthy, he's a really good offensive lineman that knows the system of the new head coach that's in here. They could have very well said to hell with that and drafted up all rookies. But no, we know that Ben Johnson, he's been speaking very well. We already know that Matt Eberflus, when he first entered the building, he spoke well too. But I have a different type of feeling when Ben Johnson speaks, because when guys ask him about how do you make things easier, shout out to my man's Pat, the designer, for asking a question anyway. He said it ain't gonna be easy. Iron sharpens iron. And he also handled all the interviews that was coming at him like crazy. He never switched up, and he kept the same temperament throughout all those discussions. And the front office have been in lockstep with saying, we're not trying to just make this a 3-year process and then go from there. We want to win games now. What are we talking about? And they've done that and showed that with the moves that they made.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about some of those moves. So we now have the contract details of the Bears free agent signings over this period. There were some questions on it, and I think this, man. One thing that happened towards the end of the season is everybody wanted to kind of relook at all around. Like there were so many people after the season that try to, oh, well, Ryan Poles isn't that good. Ryan Poles hasn't done anything, which like people got it. You could have criticism, but still you don't forget everything that happened, right? Ryan Poles has been very smart in how he's done and gone down and gained assets. And that really continues with the way that he worked out these deals. So Jonah Jackson initially came in with 1 year left on his contract. 2 years left on his contract. They could have got an option out of that second year. He signs a 3-year contract extension with the Chicago Bears, guaranteeing 2026, basically pushing off to 2027 when the Bears can get off that deal with no dead money if they choose to do so. But in doing that, they converted a lot of his salary to a signing bonus, and it changed his cap hit from being $16 million to now only 10.5 this season. How do you feel about that move?
That's really good. And I'm looking at, I know we're going to get into it, but they giving themselves a lot of outs after the 2026 season. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just lining up perfectly because we seen Ryan Poles strike and re-sign his players before the market was able to reset or dictate anything that the Chicago Bears were trying to do.
That Jalen Johnson deal looks like
money.
Right
do you know he's not even top 10 in highest paid cornerback?
That's crazy. Yeah.
Look at DJ Moore's contract and his production. You know what I'm saying? So, and I believe after their third season, rookies are eligible to receive extensions. I would imagine if everything is looking the right way and how we expect it to look, you're going to strike early, because what you don't want to do is put yourself in a position to where you have to sit out and wait on your hands and then reset the market because you took too damn long. And then the other point, to your earlier point, how do everybody around the NFL feel about Howie Roseman? We love him from Philadelphia. Did we forget he hired Chip Kelly? Did we forget that he drafted Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson? Come on, y'all. GMs make mistakes. One thing that we have to be objective on is look at every time Ryan Poles has made a mistake. He's come off that mistake at least at a decent pace or a decent rate. Nate Davis, he gave him an opportunity. You out of here. Chase Claypool gave him an opportunity. You out of here. He and Matt Eberflus, everybody, we can have that discussion that he probably waited too long. But hey, at that moment, we was ticked off and was like, he should have been fired when Caleb came through the building. But Ben Johnson wasn't on the market. It could have been another thing to where he's like, I got to have some patience. Maybe not. I ain't going to make excuses for him because last season was a huge disappointment. But y'all, the man has bounced back tremendously this offseason.
Absolutely. Next up, the Drew Dalman deal. So he got Drew Dalman 3 years, $42 million, 6 months, $28 million guaranteed. His base in 2025 is $11 million. And he has a workout bonus of $235,000. Another really good. When you look at the market for starting caliber centers, especially at the age of Drew Dalman, he probably got him a good $2-3 million less than what the market probably would have dictated.
Man, do your job. Go out there. I seen some craziness. Nobody's gonna want to come play for Caleb Williams. That ain't what Drew Dalman said. Exactly. That's all I'm gonna say. And I think that, go out there and allow these guys to go out there and perform for your team. And you're getting guys with winning attitudes. That's what is going to be the difference between the team for me. I think you got, you know what I'm saying? We talking about offensive linemen, but you get guys like Grady, Jarrett in the building, Joe Tooney, these guys that have been a part of winning organizations like the Los Angeles Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. Bro, you getting some good guys in the building, and that's the number one thing. And I think that's going to change the temperature of the squad. So it's really good.
For sure. Grady Jarrett is going to be a cap hit of $7 million his first year in the deal. He signed a 3-year, $42 million deal. He got a prorated signing bonus of $4 million. Bro, $8 million for Dayo. The fact that we're paying Grady Jarrett less than Dayo Odeyingbo is just smart money. Like,
it's crazy.
How did you convince these guys to come for that? All said and said, right? We still got to wait on Devin Duvernay's contract. The Bears are going into the season with roughly $16 million in cap space. Keep in mind our draft picks. If we stay in the spot that we are for all those, you're looking at about $12 to $13 million. So the Bears are still going to go in. I didn't think they were going to be able to do it with close to $4 million left, which, you know, Ryan Poles always like to have that little bit in the tuck.
Right, no. Man, I think that's interesting though, bro. And then you're gonna give yourself an opportunity, especially with these deals, because Grady Jarrett, $7 million. bro, you can go into next offseason, give him another signing bonus, and then create yourself more cap space.
Yeah.
It's the man, him and his contract negotiators, very detailed in how they do their business, and you can see it right up front. They're gonna be able to create some more opportunities for other guys to potentially come here, or to say we gonna all right, you showed out for us, we're gonna retain you. You know what I'm saying? So you give yourself some flexibility with all these type of deals.
Absolutely, and that's just, you got to be a smart GM, right? It's not just about how you sign guys. I mean, the guys you sign is also about how you sign them, and the fact that Ryan Poles does keep his mind on, all right, what could come down in the future, because you got to look, Kyler Gordon extension coming up. They got to make a decision on Jaquan Brisker if they're going to keep him or not. Like, if not, you bring in some young talent, but I think he's going to has a good chance of staying as long as he can stay healthy. You got those contract extensions coming up. You can get off Tremaine Edmonds. You got to find another linebacker here sooner rather than later. Gervon Dexter's coming up in the next 2 years. Caleb Williams coming up in the so the fact that every time with every Ryan Poles signing, you could see, like you said earlier, the out that he's left himself in a few years. It's just smart business, and not every GM does that. Like, we did not do that. You look under Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace just threw money out there and basically said to himself, "We'll figure it out later."
Pretty much. I mean, because, man, you could be like a New Orleans Saints and be in cap hell, and then you gotta lose a lot of guys because you haven't been doing your business the right way. Ryan Post has been doing business the right way, and you setting yourself up, and you having some type of foresight to say, hey, if my quarterback that I selected is going to be what I think he's going to be, we're gonna pay him, and it's looking like they might be lining up to pay him after that third season, just so they won't have to find themselves in some trouble. And I hope that Caleb Williams is like, all right, I'll give you a little few meal back. He ain't gonna get a whole bag back.
He ain't gonna get a lot back.
You know what I'm saying? Save us something, save us something so we can continue to build out a good team around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's move into the last topic for today. And this is just one that, as a Bears fan, I'm just happy to see. We got Montez Sweat, Grady Jarrett, Gervon Dexter, Austin Booker working with Brandon Jordan from the Trench Performance, already working out, building that chemistry. And I tell you what, those are all the names that I want to see doing some workouts with these guys. Like, the fact that I want Gervon Dexter and Austin Booker to be working with Grady every time. You know what? When DeMar took the young guys under his wing, he went to the like Patrick Williams and Dalman and all those guys. That's what I want Grady Jarrett to do with these young fellas, bro. Because if you can get Gervon, who had a breakout year last year, to be even better and more consistent, if you can get Austin Booker to have a breakout year in year two, that changes that defensive line, the projection of that defensive line so much if these guys just continue to develop. And I love that they're working with these guys already.
I agree with you. I was watching. I'm like, hold on, these boys is yelling, moving. I'm like, damn, they going crazy. But I think that's how it should be, man. I think that when you look around and you see good organizations, they always got the vets, but then they draft well to where those young players can learn about behind some of those vets. And then when guys, you can't afford to pay them anymore, guys are set to retire, you allow those young guys to step in and fill the role, and now they're in that position to be the vet that's teaching the young guys. I'm hoping that we can establish ourselves for sustained success, and that's gonna come with some guys that's coming in, carrying the mantle, and then passing it on when it's time to either leave or retire or whatever. That's how we establish ourselves as a winning culture, because it's always for the last, we'll get a 2018 and then 2019 hit us. We'll get when Jay Cutler was 2010, and then we get a 2011, 2012, where it's like, it's a little mid. It's not sustained. Let's try to establish ourselves to where we can have years of success, and then we get to talk greasy as we want to be. We've been doing this channel for 3 seasons, all losing seasons. What's going to happen when we get a winning season?
14 wins, 15 wins in 3 years is crazy, bro.
It is crazy, but the support been crazy. So
the support been crazy. We're gonna keep killing it. One last thing I want to throw out to you, which is a crazy stat. Last year, Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times, which is not. We all know that stat, right? Did you know that he had the most unblocked pressures in the NFL? There was 105 pressures that were completely unblocked for Caleb Williams last year, and 13 of those 68 sacks were completely unblocked as well. Meaning that motherfuckers was just coming in free.
Not surprised.
Bro, that's crazy.
The Indianapolis game, the whole O-line was on the floor. And then after that, the whole O-line was on the floor multiple times. Coleman Shelton getting pushed on his backside a lot. guys like Braxton Jones, he was getting moved out, couldn't keep up. Yeah, I'm not surprised, bro. Especially with that the way that offensive line was. That's why one of the first things to come out of Ben Johns' mouth was, interior O line, because you cannot have that right there. All you had to do is, hey, we send in 5, we send in a blitz, and then you was gonna be able to apply some pressure. So because it was always a question. We liked Semo originally, or thought he was gonna be a good developer of talent. Yeah, we were proven wrong on that one.
Yeah. And you talk about, and that's why you can't always go off PFF grades, because Coleman Shelton was rated as the 3rd best center, and we all seen the shit that happened. If he's the 3rd, like, what the fuck we talking about here, bro? Like,
for real, that's crazy, man. And I'm glad they made them changes and said, to hell with y'all. It's over.
That's a big fact, man. But anything left, Bob, before we get up out of here, man?
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And y'all already know we're going to continue to work and put this content out there. Stay tuned.
Absolutely, man. Y'all can follow us at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, chicagobearcentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We're the number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. We'll see y'all in the next one. Chi-Town up, Bear down, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.